Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. And full disclosure, they did send this camera out to me with some accessories for review, but I haven't been paid or sponsored for this video, and as always, I'll give you my honest and fair opinion. Now, just to give you a little background, I've been buying and using Insta360 products for many years now. I started with the Insta360R here. This is what I did a lot of my vlogging here on the YouTube channel, and I've also used this a little bit professionally. But I actually purchased the Insta360 R1S, I believe it's called, for my 360 video walkthroughs for the commercial and real estate properties that I do on my paid work. And more recently, I purchased the Insta360 Go 3 to give you point of view perspective when I start doing my vlogging again. And my latest purchase, and you're watching me on it right now, is the Insta360 Link to PTZ webcam, which I do all of my live streaming and video reviews like this one. All right, let's take a closer look at the Ace Pro 2, and it is, of course, an action camera, so it's designed to be very, very rugged. It's waterproof down to 39 feet or 12 meters. It'll operate in extreme temperatures, like from below zero, -4 degrees Fahrenheit, up to 113 degrees. And it has a removable lens guard here that you just kind of twist and remove should you need to replace that. It protects the main lens element here, which is actually a Leica f2.6 lens. Very, very sharp, actually, as you'll see later. Some other features include this removable wind guard, which does an excellent job of reducing wind noise. Over here, we have access to a micro SD slot and the USB-C port. Now, the micro SD slot can take up to a 1 terabyte micro SD card, which is more than you'll probably ever need. The USB-C port is also really special because it's a PD 30 watt compatible. So that means you can charge the battery in this camera up to 80% in just 18 minutes and full charge in just 47 minutes. So it's very, very fast charging. Also has very fast transfer rates. I found that I never had to remove the SD card to load the images onto my computer for editing. I would just plug it directly into my computer via the USB-C port, and I found the transfer times to be just as fast or almost as fast as just plugging the SD card directly into the computer. So I just leave it in there. I never have to take it out. And then coming around to the back here, we have a 2.5-inch touchscreen, which I found to be very bright, very easy to see in broad daylight. This is also how you're going to access most of the controls on the camera for your photos and video, and there's a ton of features that, I'm barely going to scratch the surface on, but I'll try and address some of the ones that I use. Also, the screen tilts all the way to 180 degrees, so this is for your vlogging and selfie modes. Also, when you tilt it down like this as a photographer, you can get down to low angles. And I found also that if you want to do high angles up over your head, you just turn the camera around upside down and you can compose the shot by tilting the screen in your direction. And I found that the camera automatically, inverts the images so that they're upright, even when you have the camera upside down and you're taking photos. Now, coming around to the side here, we have access to a removable battery, and this is rated at 1800 milliamps. And they say you can get about an hour and a half of video on this. Now, I'm primarily doing photography, and I found that on my 3-4 hour photo walks and things, I never had to change the battery. And there was some video mixed in there, not much, usually about 15-20 minutes worth, but I was doing mostly photography and I captured hundreds if not thousands of photos, and I never had to change the battery. I never had to use the spare. Now, coming back to the lens, again, we have a Leica Summit f2.6 lens, and this is very, very sharp and it's very wide. And that's equivalent to about a 12 millimeter on a full frame camera, or there's a 2x crop mode, which will give you roughly a 24 millimeter equivalent. And behind the lens is an upgraded 1/1.3 inch sensor, which gives you 50 megapixel stills, 8K 30p video, 4K 120p video, with up to 13.5 stops of dynamic range. So as you can see, this is packed with a ton of features that make it a great action camera, but they also added several other things like the 45 and 360 degree horizon lock, where you can tilt the camera but the horizon will stay level. But if you want to do a full horizon lock, even if you rotate the camera 360 degrees, the horizon will stay level, albeit with a little bit of a crop. Also, it has something they call pure raw video, and it's been greatly improved by the new dual AI chips that they have in here. So if you're going to do any kind of low light vlogging, as you can see here, the video looks terrific and it works great. So I could go on for hours about all of the additional features that make this a great action camera, but I think suffice to say, this is the top tier action camera, if not the very best one on the market, in my opinion. Now, do want to mention one other thing, and that's the mobile app that you can download for free. Uh, it has a really interesting auto AI edit feature in it where I took about 20 minutes of just uncut video, threw it into the mobile app, and it created this neat little short that I'd like to show you now.
People are out fishing today.
This is where I was having fun. And the app did all of that. I mean, it found some of the best cuts, it synced the music, it added text, it did some color grading. And that was my first try. The app is customizable, so you can make it more in your own style and add your own text and a number of other things. Now, most action cameras only focus on video, leaving photography kind of as an afterthought. But the Ace Pro 2 actually has a lot of features in it that can make this a very serious stills camera. Now, I've already mentioned the tilting screen here, so you can get low angle shots, or you can rotate it upside down for high angle shots. So that's really nice. And then, of course, rotate it all the way around for selfies. But you also have basically full manual control where you can control the shutter speed and the ISO in the camera. The aperture is fixed at f2.6, and it has a very wide field of view of 157 degrees, which is roughly a 12 millimeter equivalent on a full frame camera, or it has a 2x crop mode, which will give you roughly a 24 millimeter field of view, and that's pretty wide. So think of this as like a fixed lens camera, like any fixed lens camera, the GR4 or the X106. These are fixed lens cameras with 28 millimeter fields of view, like the Leica Q3. This one just happens to have a very wide field of view between 12 and 24 millimeters. But what makes this feel like a real camera is this accessory here they call the Explorer Grip. And what it is basically is a protective cage for the camera, gives you some access points and cold shoes, but it also gives you this really nice rubberized grip here so you have a good feel of the camera. In addition, they've extended the shutter button over to where your index finger would rest. And of course, here we also have a cold shoe, so if you want to attach like an LED light here, you can do that. But let me go ahead and put this in and show you how this looks. So now it actually feels like a camera rather than an action cam, because, with an action cam, you kind of have to hold it like this to take pictures. But with this, I actually have a grip and a shutter button right here. And the grip is rubberized, so it feels very secure in the hand. There's a couple of eyelets here, so you can attach like a regular camera strap to it, like I have. And also, if you want to, you still have access to like the memory card and USB-C port here. And if you want to change the battery, there's a way to sort of disassemble the cage, without taking the camera out, which is to remove this shutter button here and then unscrew the grip to get access to the battery that's on this side. However, I found it much easier to just release the camera out of the cage, swap the battery, and put it back in the cage and snap it back all together. Now, when it comes to image quality, I was really impressed as well. I mean, we have 50 megapixels to work with. The lens is very sharp. It shoots in RAW and JPEG. And it also has something called Pure Shot mode, which is kind of like, I guess, another way to say active HDR or real-time HDR, where it brings up the shadows and pulls in the highlights. So you get a very dynamic scene just straight out of camera. And these images, I used what they call their Leica natural profile, which is basically it's a cooperation I did with Leica to come up with this color science that I think works great for most scenes. Now, of course, there's no substitute for editing the images yourself to get the look and feel that you want. So take this example here. Here's the straight out of camera raw image. As you can see, it feels a bit underexposed because of the very strong highlight from the sun. And this is the straight out of camera JPEG that it produced, which is very pleasant and did a great job of bringing up the shadows and bringing back the highlights in the sky. However, it didn't have quite the feel and mood that I wanted. So I went into the raw image and I edited it to my taste here. And this is the image that I came up with. Now, another nice thing is when you're working with RAW files, you can do anything you want. For example, I can convert to black and white and work with the contrast and create images like this, or you can do cropping. When you have 50 megapixels to work with, you have quite a bit of room for that. That said, I generally don't recommend doing that. You should work with the focal length you're given or taking. But I don't hesitate to chop the top and the bottom off when I'm cropping while maintaining the full width of the image. That way I don't lose any resolution, but I can create these much more dramatic panoramas. Now, one observation I made when I was comparing the RAWs versus the JPEGs, I noticed that the JPEGs in the camera were very highly compressed. So you are going to lose some of the fine details throughout the image, especially in the corners where you have this wide angle distortion, and that's true of all super wide angle lenses. But that said, if you can edit the RAWs, you're going to be rewarded with much finer details, and I found the files to be very flexible in terms of working with the highlights and shadows to give you the final image or a style that you're looking for. Now, the last accessory I want to mention here is called the Insta360 Multi-Mount. This is basically a combination tripod and selfie stick all in one. So I'll just demonstrate real quick. You just attach your camera via the magnetic clip here. It's a quick release, so you can take the camera on and off very quickly. But the handle kind of folds out into a tripod like this. But of course, it's also acts as a selfie stick, so you can hold it out like this, and you can extend it very simply and articulate it in different ways, and then hold this out further away from you so you capture more of the environment, or if you want to hold it up high over your head. And then one other interesting thing that I found on here was underneath the handle or behind the legs of the tripod part is a little clip right here. So what this allows you to do is hang this like on a fence or on an edge of a wall or top of a wall. I guess I can demonstrate it kind of like this, where you would mount it something like that on a wall. So this is kind of a nice little design feature, I thought, kind of hidden in there that I didn't see anyone else mention. And I really like this. It's well made and lightweight, and I think it'll really add to your experience with the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. So I think what Insta360 has done here with the Ace Pro 2 is not just create a flagship action camera, but also a great content creation tool for vloggers and photographers alike. So if you're interested in the Ace Pro 2, I think the best way to get it is as a bundle that comes together with the Explorer grip and the multi-mount and a spare battery. That's going to give you the best value and also offer you the best experience when using the Ace Pro 2. And I'll have all my links down below, including an exclusive offer for the first 10 people who purchase using my links. You get an extra 17% off and a free 256 gig SD card. And if you're watching this video on or after November 20th of 2025, Insta360 is running some Black Friday deals. So again, check out the links below for the biggest price drops ever and an extra 256 gig SD card. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.